I'd like to discuss today is a sad topic. It's the topic of Tisha B'Av, this 9th of Av, the saddest day of the year. Interestingly, this year, Tisha B'Av, the day we mourn the destruction of Beit HaMikdash, comes out on Shabbat. On July 21st is Tisha B'Av, and it happens to be on a Shabbat. So the rabbis say that since Shabbat is from the Torah, it's a day we're supposed to have pleasure and joy on, it's a day we're supposed to rest, therefore the laws of Tisha B'Av do not apply on Shabbat. So the question is, how do you go about observing Tisha B'Av on such a year that it is on Shabbat? So first of all, important note here, there's a big difference if you're Sephardic or Ashkenazi. If you are Sephardic, then the laws of the Shavua Shechalbo, the laws of the week before Tisha B'Av, do not apply this year. Since Tisha B'Av is on a Sunday, so it's not the week before is not the actual week of Tisha B'Av, therefore all the laws of mourning, such as not doing laundry and not having any parties or anything like that, do not apply. If you're Ashkenazi, then the laws of some mourning apply from the Rosh Chodesh. That's why it's called the 9 days, and therefore this year it doesn't make a difference. Still those laws have observed. So back to our question: what is it that you do on Shabbat? How is it that you observe Tisha B'Av on a year when it comes out on Shabbat? So first of all, you observe your Shabbat in a regular fashion. You prepare for Shabbat, you eat delicious food, sing songs, rest, make sure you catch up with friends, family, and really have a magnificent Shabbat. The issue is, though, when it comes to the end of Shabbat. So when it comes to the end of Shabbat, it's important to note there's a really big difference between the sunset and Tzeit HaKohavim, when 3 stars are out. At sunset, at Shkia, that's the time we stop eating. We stop eating, it begins the period of Bein Hashmashot. So whatever it is that you're going to eat before Tisha B'Av, you can eat, but you need to finish before sunset, which I believe in New York is, it's going to be on Tisha B'Av, 8:21. So by 8:21, you stop eating, but you don't start observing the fast. You don't put on leather shoes or anything like that. You just make sure you have a good meal so that you can go through the entire fast and be healthy and well. And so at 8:21 at Shkia, you stop eating. You need to make sure you eat all your Sudam Afseket until then. Now, on a regular year, the last meal before Tisha B'Av is just bread with ashes or an egg. But on Shabbat, your Suda Shlishit can be luscious and delicious. You can have meat, wine, anything you want, as long as you finish before Shkia, before sunset. The next step is Tzeit HaKohavim. When 3 stars are out and Shabbat is actually over, that is when the fast begins. And that's when leather shoes come off and you put on slippers or sneakers. And so people say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, and they put on sneakers or slippers, and then they go to synagogue to pray Arvit. So a lot of synagogues structure their schedule that way, so that by the time the people come to synagogue, they've had 15 or 20 minutes to change their shoes. It's already Tzeit HaKohavim, and then they come to synagogue. It used to be, in the olden days, people used to go to Arvit right at Tzeit HaKohavim, and the Chazan would begin Arvit, say Baruch Hu, and then they would just take off their shoes and walk barefoot. But what we do today is we wait 15-20 minutes, and we take off our shoes right after Tzeit HaKohavim and go to synagogue in sneakers or slippers. The next thing is Havdalah. So what do you do for Havdalah? So in Arvit you say Atachon Antanu. However, you do not make Havdalah. In synagogue they take out a candle and make Borei Me'orei Ha'esh. Later, on Motzei Tisha B'Av, on Sunday night, you'll be making a full Havdalah. But until then, there's no Havdalah. If, however, you're not fasting, if someone's not well, they're not feeling well, and they're not fasting, then they do make Havdalah right after Shabbat if they want to eat, and they make it on orange juice, coffee, or anything that you would make Havdalah on, except for wine. It's important to note that this year, since it is what's called a nidche, it's a fast that is pushed off, right? Tisha B'Av is not actually on Sunday. Tisha B'Av is on Shabbat. Since that's the case, you, if a person is sick or nursing or pregnant or feels weak, then rabbis are much more likely to tell you that you shouldn't fast, since it's anyways a tzom nidche. So if you are eating on Tisha B'Av, make sure to make Havdalah beforehand, and that takes us to the next step here. In terms of the observance of Tisha B'Av, on Sunday there's really no difference. You say Kinot, you read the book of Eicha, Lamentations, and then at the end of Tisha B'Av, in synagogue you make Havdalah. On that week there's no Besamim at all, since you're not having them on Saturday night or on Sunday night. There are those who maintain that on Shabbat you do some things that are Tisha B'Av related, such as not studying Torah in the afternoon or refraining from certain relationships, but nonetheless, the majority of the poskim of the rabbis assume that it is permitted to learn. For more information, please check out the links in the description of this video. Thank you so much for listening. May this Tisha B'Av turn from a day of mourning and sadness to a day of joy and happiness, with the reconstruction of the Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi. B'mheira b'yameinu. Amen.